Hello, Aleese Lightyear here, and welcome back to my channel. China continues to be one of the top destinations for teachers to come and teach abroad. And that's for two things. One, being the high demand for native English-speaking teachers in China, and two, the very high salary and great benefit packages. If you have been following this channel for a while, then you already know I have been a teacher in China for the past 5 years, and I get loads of comments and DMs about how exactly to teach in China. So I decided to create a whole series to teach you exactly how to get a job. So this is going to be the first video in the series, which is all about the requirements that you need in order to get a teaching job in China. So keep watching to figure out if China is the right country for you to come and teach in. So the first thing that you're going to need is a bachelor's degree. Almost all schools or companies in China will require you to have a bachelor's degree. Doesn't matter if it's a bachelor's of arts or a bachelor's in science. Doesn't matter if you majored in English or not. However, having a degree or a major in the field that you are pursuing, teaching, or whatever subject you're going to be teaching is a huge advantage. But again, not required. I have a bachelor's of art in broadcasting and cinematic arts. This has nothing to do with teaching. So it really, honestly, doesn't matter. As long as you have a bachelor's from a real accredited university, not one that ChatGPT or AI or Photoshop made for you. You need to have a real bachelor's degree. A TEFL, TESL, or CELTA certificate. A TESL is a Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages certificate, and CELTA, a certificate in Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. So just like bachelor's degrees, these TEFL, etc. certificates are required of most companies or schools in China. So these certificates can typically be obtained through online or in-person courses. So regardless of the type of certificate that you have, it must be over 120 hours. Now, don't get this type of certification confused with a teaching license. This is not a license. This is just a certificate that you can get from many different companies. If you are struggling to find a place to get your TEFL certificate, I recommend International TEFL Academy. That's where I got my TEFL certificate in 2018. The course itself is not free. You do need to pay. The wonderful thing about International TEFL Academy is that they have real advisors who have taught abroad themselves, who give you lots of great advice, and they also have lifetime job guidance and support. I'm just saying, if you're looking for a place to get your TEFL, International TEFL Academy is absolutely wonderful, and you can click the link in my description below to get more information about them. Okay, next, you should be from a native English-speaking country. That includes the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, or South Africa. Yes, obviously, I am aware that there are a lot more native English-speaking countries other than those ones I just named in this world, but in accordance to Chinese standards and preferences, those are the countries that they prefer to hire teachers from. If you're not from one of those countries I listed, it doesn't mean that it's impossible to get a job here. You just are going to face some more unintentional ignorance, and it may narrow down your selection of schools or companies that are willing to hire you. Again, it doesn't mean that it's impossible. I know lots of people who work legally as teachers in China from native English-speaking countries in the Caribbean and all over the world. If you are a non-native English speaker, the opportunities for you to come here legally as a teacher narrow a lot more. And honestly, I don't know much about that market, so I don't really have accurate advice on how to come from your country to China as a non-native. So yeah, I can't really give much more advice other than that because I honestly just don't know. Another reason why schools tend to prefer to hire teachers from those countries is because because schools and companies here are really particular about their teachers' accents. Also, there is just this common yet unfortunate belief and idea in China that people who don't come from those specific countries that I mentioned don't speak good enough English in order to teach it, or don't have clear enough accents in order to teach. But please don't let that discourage you. It just may be a little bit harder for you to get a job, and maybe you'll have less options to choose from. But keep in mind, it honestly is not impossible. A clean criminal record. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is a standard for lots of jobs all over the world, especially in your own country, right? If you did time, if you've got a felony on your record, it's more difficult for you to find a job. The same thing goes when you're trying to get a job internationally. Once you start the visa process in order to legally work and live in China, you need to submit a clean background check from your home country or wherever you've been living for the past 2 or 3 years. Another requirement to teach in China is that there is a slight age limit, and that is you must be under the age of 55. The reason this age limit is in place is because the retirement age in China is 55. And if you are coming to China for the very first time to teach and you are 55 or older, you are, I guess, ineligible for a visa. But there is a difference if you come to China in year 52 and you stay for 3 years, you turn 55 and you renew your visa, you can continue working. I don't really know the specifics about this, but I know that it's real because I have a coworker right now who is over the age of 55. And when I was living in Beijing, I had some other coworkers who were well over 55, even 60. So once you're in China and you're already working and you hit that official retirement age, I don't really know how that visa process works, how your company or school can push it through, but I know that it's possible. Do you need to have teaching experience in order to qualify for getting a job in China? No, you don't need any experience at all. You just need all of the things that I've listed previously: a bachelor's degree, a TEFL certificate. A lot of TEFL programs, like the one that I'm recommending, International TEFL Academy, give you student teaching experience within the program. In order to get your certificate, you have to complete, 75 hours of volunteer or student teaching. That qualifies as experience when you apply for jobs in China. But even if you don't have any of that experience, I think that it's fine. I will say that the post-pandemic English teaching and just teaching in general job landscape in China is very different than what it used to be. Schools are being a little bit more selective with candidates who they choose to bring over to China. And I think more and more they're preferring teachers who actually have experience, either classroom experience, volunteer experience, internship experience. The value placed on previous teaching experience is definitely a lot higher than it was before the pandemic. So that's just another thing to consider, and will give you a huge advantage when it comes to applying for jobs. A teaching license. What that is if you are from the US of A and you studied education and you are a certified teacher in your home state, then that means in order to work at your school, you have a teaching license issued by that state. If you have taught previously in the UK, then I think it's called qualified teacher status or something like that. And every country usually has some type of official license for teachers. In China, to get a job at a school, you do not need that. A teaching license is obviously very different from a TEFL certificate, and a teaching license is not required to teach in most schools in China. However, there are lots of different types of schools in China, and the schools with the highest salaries are foreign-owned international schools, and those schools only accept teachers that have teaching licenses. At foreign-owned international schools in China, you are teaching foreign passport holders only. You're teaching in an environment in a school that is very similar to the one in your home country and very different than traditional Chinese Chinese schools. Kindergartens, training centers, universities, public schools, and Chinese private schools do not require a teaching license. They only require a TEFL. So again, if you have a teaching license, then you can work at these foreign-owned private international schools, and good for you because your salary is going to be 30 to 50% higher than most other teachers. That is incredible. China is probably the #1 place to go if you are a licensed teacher because you can make bank, honey. So yeah, that's just something to consider if you are a licensed teacher. When it comes to teaching English in China, immersion is the name of the game. This is why you're hired, to create an English environment. The type of English you use to teach, of course, varies depending on the age of your students. If you're teaching kindergarten, if you're teaching the babies in kindergarten, you're using a lot of TPR, games, chants, songs, things like that. When you're teaching in a high school environment and your students have been learning English for 10 plus years and everything is in English, translations are used really sparingly. When you work in a kindergarten, you also have a bilingual teaching assistant because the kids are learning English. They don't already know English. So there's a lot of things that they express in Chinese that the co-teacher who is there will help with. When you teach older kids, they have a higher level of English and you don't have a co-teacher and everything you do is in English. So you don't need any Chinese skill in order to get a job in China. But of course, if you have zero Chinese skill, it makes your life outside of work a little bit more difficult. So I encourage you to try to learn just some basics. So those, my friends, are all of the basic qualifications that you need in order to qualify to get a job and a working visa in China legally. I don't know nothing about no illegal stuff. I don't know nothing about non-teaching jobs. I don't know nothing about student visas. I know about Z visa, work visa, and I know about L visa, tourist visa. So if you got questions about those things, I'm your girl. Everything else, there's other content creators who maybe have the answer to those questions, but I am just not one of them. Yeah, so if you meet all of these requirements and you're feeling good, you're super excited, but you're like, damn, where do I find a job? What do I do now? How do I find a reputable company or school to work for? Well, we've come to the part in the video where I'm going to list a bunch of websites that I myself use and I know lots of people who have found real jobs from. I know that the job hunting process can be difficult, confusing, and a bit scammy or like unreliable when it comes to looking for honest work in China. So these websites are newpeakchina.com, toptutorjob.com, jobs.echinacities.com, hiredchina.com, lawaicareer.com, chinateachjobs.com. Those are all of the websites. So not all of these websites will allow you to apply via email or directly through the website. A few things for you to know about these websites is that not all of these websites will allow you to apply like directly to the school. More than likely with some of these websites, your resume will be sent to one recruiter that works to many different schools and they may reach out to you via email, WeChat, WhatsApp, text message, and ask you to fill out a form so they can kind of match you with job openings that they currently have. Then on some of these sites, you'll find job postings where you can apply directly to the school. All these websites are fairly easy to navigate. Very important thing that you should know is that recruiters or agents should never, ever be asking you for money. That should never, ever happen. But again, there are no fees associated with a recruiter or an agent helping you to get a job. So after all of that, if you still have questions, concerns, things that you are confused about, or want to just do a deep dive about what it's really like working in China, I do offer some low-cost consultations where we can have a video chat for about 45 minutes and talk about all of the things. Those things could be like you have a job offer and you're looking at a contract and you want to know if there are any red flags in the contract, or maybe you're unsure about which type of school is right for you and you have questions about that, whatever it may be, feel free to hit me up. You can comment on this video asking for help, or you can click the link in the description below to my calendar, and from there you can book a call with yours truly and we can get you some answers to all of the things that are keeping you up at night. Please know that I am not a recruiter. I cannot get you a job in China. I am not affiliated with any type of schools or recruiters or anything. I am just your long-term internet bestie who has been living, working, and sometimes thriving in China for the past 5 years. I can only offer my knowledge and expertise about this place and the teaching landscape, and I can only give advice and make content. I cannot get you a job, so don't ask me to get you a job because I can't. So my friends, we have come to the end of this very informational and jam-packed video. So let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful, if there's something that I didn't touch on that you're curious about, if you want me to go more in depth about things. Like I said, I'm making this a series where I'm going to be making lots and lots of different videos all about teaching and living in China 101, because the demand is out there and your girl got the answers. I got the knowledge. I am the expert. So this is why you should book a consultation with me. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching the video. It's so nice to be back on YouTube consistently. Fingers crossed that I can keep it up, because your girl be tired and it's hard to do YouTube and just like real life. Anyway, you know what it is. Aleese Lightyear over and out.